So good evening. Hey, what's going on? What's going on? Where's my music? I forgot my music. That's all right. So this is Winfred Burns, your money mentor, CEO of Global Drive, and run a big man clothing line. So I just finished listening to my good friend and Pastor Dan Thomas, and he was talking about marriage. Earlier, I actually was going to do this before I heard his. I heard him, but I thought it'd be a good idea to just piggyback on his video. So Dan, if you didn't check out his video, talked about gave 5 tips for those who are married. So what I'm going to do is I want to talk about. I'm going to give you the other end of this thing. I'm going to talk about some ideas and thoughts to think through if you are considering divorce. And I don't need you to comment if you don't want to, but I just want you to think about it because this is an area I'm kind of familiar with. So, for those of you who do not know, again, I am divorced. I was married for 10 years. We were together 14 years. We have an amazing son who we both love dearly and do an amazing job taking care of. So there's no drama in that regard on this end if you're looking for it. But I do want to give you guys some thoughts just again, if you are, because a lot of times we don't talk about this. A lot of people are, we'll tell you about marriage and give you tips for marriage. I'm going to tell you what happens if you choose not to be married. First of all, before I get into that, let me say this. I am not trying to tell someone, I'm not trying to get you to a point where you feel like if you are in an abusive relationship, that you should stay. I do not believe that. I don't believe God honors a person who stays in an abusive relationship. I don't believe that is His desire for your life. And so I'm not under any stretch of the imagination saying that one should stay in that type of relationship. I'm also not condoning staying in a relationship, staying that, or trying to make someone feel convicted about being in a relationship or in a marriage where there is infidelity going on. So I want to make that clear. Also, when I talk about infidelity and cheating, when I talk about abuse, I am not just talking about the physical forms of abuse. I am talking about verbal abuse, mental abuse, and any other type of abuse that there can be, or infidelity, because I don't believe infidelity is strictly just having sex with another person. But I think you can be in emotional affairs, and that is just as dangerous as a sexual affair. So, now that we got that out of the way, I want to give you guys a couple of things to think about before you choose to leave. Again, 10 years of marriage, 14 years with this, 14 together, 14 years, and it ended. So, and we can postulate and I can guess and all that kind of stuff about and tell you what happened and all that stuff, but that's not the purpose. We'll do that on another video. What I want to tell you is that unless you are, again, I want you to be clear, because oftentimes what happens is we think that if we leave or we end the marriage, that the pain is going to stop. And that, in all actuality, is not necessarily true. Will you live a life full of pain if you're divorced? No. So no, that's not at all what I'm saying. What I am saying is that you don't relieve all pain, and what you actually do is you exchange pain for the other, one type of pain for another, and it hurts. Let's just be. I'm gonna be completely clear and honest with you. So first of all, there are several stages that you go through. One of which is, and this is if you do or if you do not have children. Now, if you have children, then that's an added part to it. However, if you don't, let's just say if you don't have children, then you have to. Dr. Miles Monroe makes a statement. He says that divorce is literally like your arm being ripped off of your shoulder and you having to learn how to function with only one arm. And if you can imagine, if you really thought about it, or take it one step further, if you really tried to just close your eyes and walk around and function with no eyes, it would be very difficult. There would be a lot of bumps, there would be a lot of bruises, there would be a lot of walking into walls and trying to figure out where you are again. There would be a lot of times where you are so unsure about where everything is that you would be hesitant to make certain decisions because you would be afraid that you would walk into a wall, you would kick your foot and stub your toe on everything, and y'all know how that feels when you hit your baby toe on the corner or something. That is like the worst feeling in the world. That is very similar to a lot of the things that you deal with when you go through a divorce period. When you do, there will be loss. There will be loss of friends. There will be loss of relationships. There will be changes in friends. There will be changes in relationships. All of that changes. And it is something, again, that takes time to get through. Because once again, you have been so adjusted and so used to functioning one way, then you now have to become adjusted again. And again, if you can imagine walking around blindfolded or with your eyes closed, how uncomfortable that would be. And then trying to get into a position where you once again felt sure about everything. One of the hardest things for me, and I'll speak from a personal experience, one of the hardest things that I've had to deal with is learning how to trust again. And also, and oftentimes the issue with learning how to trust again is it's very difficult to learn how to trust other people when you're still trying to learn how to trust yourself. Because when you entered into marriage, when you entered into that commitment, you entered into it. Most people, pretty much everybody, enters into it with the understanding that they will be doing this for the rest of their life, and that there is an expectation from the person who you have chosen to spend the rest of your life with. And when you come to the conclusion or the realization that those expectations will not be met, you are then you then begin to question everything about yourself. Not to mention, again, the fact that now you have to get adjusted to everything all over again. Dan, that's funny. That you have to get adjusted to everything all over again. And so I want you to really consider whether or not this situation or this ending this marriage is something that you really want to do, or are you in a position where you just don't feel like you know what to do? I can speak for myself. Again, I have to use my own self as an example. Is one of my biggest mistakes, and especially as a man, a lot of us struggle with this, is I didn't know how to ask for help. I didn't know how to humble myself and put myself in a position where other men could give me the information that I needed, and could give me, and I refused to be vulnerable enough to allow other people to really not just tell me about myself, but encourage me as I grew and mature as a man. Because here, ladies, let me help you understand something about men. The hardest thing for a man to do is to admit that he has failed the woman that he loves. And when he feels like he has failed the woman that he loves, we equate that to feeling like we have failed at life. And so to go to another man and admit to him that you have failed, or admit to him that you don't know, is puts you in a position where you are so uncomfortable that you would rather, in some instances, and we shouldn't do this, you would rather be quiet and try to figure it out for yourselves. And men, let me tell you the truth. You cannot figure it out by yourself. So, Put yourself in a position, if you really do love her. I can promise this, you really do love her, you really do love him, or you wouldn't have married them in the first place. And that's just what it really is. You wouldn't have done it in the first place. And we make all of the excuses that we can think of when it's not going well as to why we did it. But the truth and the matter of the matter is, you love this person, you saw yourself with this person. Again, there was an expectation of growth that you had from this person, and because of that, you chose to enter into marriage with this person, and to have children with this person, and to combine incomes with this person, and have sex with this person, and trust this person with your deepest and darkest secrets and moments, and share your vulnerability with this person. And you really don't want to end that. What you want to do, again, is you want to figure out, what am I supposed to do? How can I end this pain that I am currently in? How can we get off of this downward spiral that we are currently in? How can it stop being painful for me to come home? How can I get to a place where I feel like I have peace again? Those are the questions that you want answered. And I can tell you, again, from experience, that divorce does not answer those questions. It just doesn't. If you are married, those questions can be answered in marriage. So, how do you do it? Let me tell you real quick how you do it. The first thing you do is you become honest with yourself. And as a man, or as a woman, as a person, one of the hardest things that one of the things that I find when I talk to couples, and again dealing with myself, is that a lot of times one of the things that we struggle with when it comes to being honest about ourselves is, we don't want to be honest with ourselves, because again, then we have to deal with the fact that we just can't do it, or we just don't know, or we just don't really, that what we're doing is not working. So be honest with yourself and say, you know what, listen, I've done everything I've done everything I could, or everything I thought I could do, and it's just not working. Now, I can tell you, if the person that you are with has not reached a place where their heart is so hard, telling them that alone will begin to change the atmosphere of your relationship. Because now, I'm there is not a man or woman alive who does not have a hard heart, and who loves you, who, once they see that you have submitted and humbled yourself to them, will not begin to say, "Oh, okay, now we can work from there." And so you have to be honest with yourself and say, "I really just don't know. I'm really doing the best I can, and it is not working." So start with being honest with yourself. The second thing I would tell you to do is, I would say that anything else that is not a critical assignment in that time, I would stop it. Because we call this what I call level setting. And what that means is that sometimes in business and relationships, sometimes you just kind of have to turn everything off in order to figure out exactly where you are. And then through the process of communication, of talking, of kind of, playing with this and playing with that and figuring this thing out, then you then begin to figure out, okay, this just does not work for us, or this does work for us, and you can keep what needs to be kept, and you can throw away what needs to be thrown away. Oftentimes, what I've learned and figured out also, is sometimes what happens is, as we get older and we mature and we change, we don't realize that the person that we are with has made certain adjustments. And oftentimes what happens is, we still are married to the person who we first started dating, and the other person is married to, has become a totally different person. And because we've gotten so used to the daily routine and the daily rigors of marriage and life, sometimes we don't stop and really figure out, who are you now? What things excite you now? What things do you hate now? What things did you used to like, that you no longer like? Asking some hard questions. What things do I do that really piss you off and that you really wish I would stop? And listen to the responses, and ask the question, and ask, okay, so what can I do to change? And if I make those changes, how will you respond? So ask those hard questions of one another, and then listen, not for the sake of using it in the future, but listen for the sake of trying to improve one another and improve together as a couple. So again, the second thing is stop all of this stuff. Now I'm gonna say this, and I see my friend Daryl O'Neill is on here. But even if you are in ministry, there are seasons where you need to stop. You might need to stop ministering and minister to your spouse. And I know that's not something that you might not want to do. And I'm not telling you to quit your job, by the way, but I'm saying that if you're in ministry, and that's not your daily job, but if that's something that you do, you might need to slow down or stop for a season in order to maintain the proper boundaries in your home. Again, I'm gonna use myself for an example. I always thought that I was raised that whatever was going on, you preach through it. When you sing through it, and you pray through it, and you worship through it, and that is true in a personal relationship, but that in marriage, that's not true. Sometimes you gotta stop preaching. And I'm sorry, you just have to. You have to stop singing in order to sing in your shower or preach in your shower or whatever. But sometimes you need to sit your behind down and stay home if that's what's needed. Extracurricular activity, same thing. Sometimes you just have to make adjustments. Maybe that means instead of you going to the gym after work, you go in the morning where everybody sleeps. But you just have to figure it out, because it is more important to save your marriage than to travel around the world trying to save everybody else. And again, I was guilty. I would flat out say that was something in my past I was very, very guilty of. Now, it's funny actually. Now, if it doesn't fit, I'll just say, hey, I have my son this weekend. I have something to do. Sorry, I can't do it. And the reality is, those are things that for me, I should have done a long time. I should have done before, and it could have made a difference. So the second thing, so that was the second thing. The third thing you need to do is you need to learn. You need to learn. Excuse me. You need to once again try to learn and figure out again and remember what is the purpose in this person's life. Again, like I said, when you met them, they were one person. Now that you've been together for a little while, they might be a totally different person and have different likes and dislikes. What are some of the things that they like? And just get back to those things. What are some of the foundational things that you, as a couple, find valuable? And get back on the same page on those types of things. If it's laughter and you enjoy laughing, and that's something that's important to your marriage and your relationship, then do that. Make sure that you go to a comedy club, or if she likes to hold hands in public, then fellas hold a hand in public. Whatever it is, but just figure out what's important to him and to her now, and begin to do those things, and don't do them out of feeling like you have to do it out of habitual, like, oh, I gotta hold your hand again. I hope this makes you happy, and all you want to do is have sex. I hope this makes you happy. Because if you do that, and that completely takes away, from the whole idea of, even if they know you don't want to do it, the fact that you are willing to do it for them, that you are willing to sacrifice it, to take the time to rediscover them. That, by the way, is called intimacy. And so that is a level and form of intimacy that a lot of us miss, is rediscovering and understanding who each other are and what is important to each other, and because I value you, I will do it. So again, I just wanted to give you those, and I guess if you have kids, there's a totally different level. Man, I'll be straight honest with you all. I see my son a lot, but there is not a day that goes by that I don't miss my son. And so I've been divorced for almost over 2 years now, and guess what? It doesn't get any easier. And I've got friends and buddies who have been divorced for 5 and 10 years, and I'm like, man, does this ever stop? And they tell me the truth. Nope, it doesn't. So I'm just giving you guys some things to think about. Honestly, again, like I said, I knew there was a moment when when I remember when I finally told my father that I was getting that had separated, he said to me, he said, "Son, I want to tell you something." He said, "I'm going to love you no matter whatever you choose to do, and God's going to love you." He said, "You're going to experience the grace of God on a level that you've never experienced it before." He said, "However," he said, "you're not." He said, "You're not through with your marriage. You're just angry." And he said, "And you're so angry that you are willing to do anything to stop being angry." And it took several months of me. Again, I'm going to tell you about me. It took several months of me literally laying out on the floor and being honest before God, telling him how I felt, how hurt I was, how much of a failure I felt about certain things. And before I was able to get to a place where he could even speak to me. Now, that might sound weird to you, but there is a place where you can get where your heart is so hard that you do not hear the voice of God anymore, and that you no longer feel the presence of God. And if that is how you feel, do not get divorced in that state. It is a temporary feeling that can be changed with help and with honesty. And once you do and your heart is softened again, you will really begin to think differently about the decisions that you make. Now, if you're on here and let me say this, if you are on here and you are already divorced, I will tell you this, I will tell you those words again. You can experience the grace of God on a level that you have never experienced before. That God can heal your hurts, he can mend your heart, he can put you in a position where you can trust again. However, the process is not easy, but it is possible. Life does not end because you get divorced. What it does is it does change. However, you can make it if you are divorced. And so I just want to encourage you guys today again, before you do it, before you make that decision, really, really think about the choices that you are making. And also think about this. If you are in a family where if you're entering into a family, or if you're in a family where you are where divorce is normal, then you have to fight that much harder, because that spirit, that culture is ingrained, and it is possible to get through it and get past it and defeat it. But you got to fight that thing, and you got to resist it, and you got to make sure that you stay on top of your marriage, because that is definitely something that God can heal you from and deliver you from and remove from your bloodline. So, all right. Oh, it's no problem. I know you're busy. It's all right. It's all right, Apostle Neil. I know. So I just wanted to say that tonight, guys, and I hope that really helped you. I'm getting ready to go on the air in about 20 minutes. So for Global Drive, we're going to have a pretty cool show tonight. So if you aren't doing anything, definitely listen. You can click on the link on my Facebook page or on the Global Drive page. But we're going to talk about racism in America tonight. And so I'm excited about tonight's show. And I got to go drink something to get my voice back. So I will talk to you guys later. Be blessed. I love you. And if you know people who you think could benefit from it, please do me a favor and share this video. All right? Have a good night.